Smoke coiled in the chamber like living things, pale gray snakes writhing in the heated air. The braziers burned with strange orange light, and the carved stone dragons of Dragonstone seemed to stir and shift as the flames danced. Melisandre stood before the great carved table of Aegon the Conqueror, eyes closed, lips moving soundlessly. The room tasted of salt and sulfur and hot iron. She opened her eyes. The fire was no longer merely fire. Green light filled her vision, wildfire blooming like summer flowers upon black water. She saw ships burning, men screaming, white teeth bared in terror. She saw a black chain rising from the depths like some metal serpent, closing a trap of iron. She saw a halfman laughter bloodied on the walls, and a golden lion's head bursting into incandescent shards. And beyond that, beyond the ruin, she saw him. Stannis Baratheon upon his knees in a dark chamber. His jaw clenched so hard it might shatter, his eyes pits of despair. She saw the shadow of another man's victory stretching long across the narrow sea. She saw snow swallowing the world while the true king's fire guttered out on some nameless strand. The vision did not end there. The flames leapt, shifted, sharpened. She saw the same strait, the same bay, but the water lay dark and clear beneath a cold moon. No green fire bloomed there. No chain rose from the depths. Instead, she saw stone. Not sea, blood running through narrow streets, swords clashing in alleys and at gates. A red stag banner rising atop a tower as bells tolled not for battle but for surrender. She saw a lion kneeling, a boy sobbing, a queen's hair shorn away in jagged handfuls. She saw a throne of swords, and upon it a gaunt man with a jaw of granite and a crown of flames that were not flames but beaten gold. Behind him, behind it all, shadows moved in a far different light, the cold blue of endless winter. Melisandre drew in a slow breath, her heart beating hard. "Lord of Light," she whispered, her voice as soft as the smoke drifting upward. "Show me more." The flames obeyed. Now she saw the north, white, endless, merciless. Men upon a wall of ice, torches flickering feebly against the dark. A boy with a wolf's eyes and a bastard's name. A king in the snow wearing a crown of antlers rimed with frost. A sword burning with a light that was not merely fire but something older and deeper. Shadows on the snow. Blue eyes in the darkness. Rank upon rank. Death coming. In that chill, the green blaze of Blackwater Bay seemed petty, like a child's candle beside a winter storm. She understood in that instant the true scale of their struggle. If the visions were flawed, if she misread them, all would be lost. If she clung to half-seen symbols and comforting certainties, the world would drown in night. But tonight the fire was clear. The pictures came sharp, undimmed, each line precise as a sword edge. There was no mist, no trick, no shifting uncertainty. She saw paths, branching futures, and the one thread of choice that led to victory lay bare before her, shining like molten steel. Stannis must not fight upon the Blackwater as the usurpers expected. He must not trust to ships alone. He must not hurl himself blindly into their trap. He must move as quietly and surely as shadow. Another man might have doubted the clarity, would have questioned whether the Lord of Light had grown suddenly generous. Melisandre did not. She had given half her life to flame and ash and omen. She knew when the fire spoke truly, and she knew the taste of her own pride when it muddied the message. Tonight there was none of that. Tonight the vision laid itself bare. She turned swiftly, crimson skirts whispering over stone, and strode from the chamber. Outside, the night wind tore at her hair and cloth. Dragonstone's courtyard lay dark save for the torches at its walls and gates. Men hurried about their tasks, shadows twisting long beneath them. The sea murmured somewhere below, hidden by black rock and blind sky. The lord of this grim island stood alone beneath one of the stone dragons, face lit by the torch in his hand. He wore no crown, but his presence was one. Stannis Baratheon had a countenance like carved oak, hard, unbending, every line cut by years of duty and disappointment. His eyes were fastened on the night sea as though he meant to wring an answer from it. "Your Grace," Melisandre said. He did not startle. Stannis never startled. He shifted his gaze only, turning his head just enough to regard her. "You've been at your fires," he said. His voice was low and rough, like stones grinding. "Yes." And one word, but there was iron in it. She stepped closer, the torchlight painting her hair the color of banked coals. "You must not take your fleet into the Blackwater rush as they expect, your grace. The city is not meant to fall to ship and fire. The city is meant to fall to me," Stannis said flatly. "You told me so yourself. What does it matter how we break them, so long as they break?" "It matters," she said. "The sea will betray you if you trust in it alone. The Lannisters have laid traps, a great chain beneath the water, walls lined with jars of wildfire." He cut her off with a snort. "Wildfire? The fool's piss of mad kings. I have ships, I have men, I have galleys from Lys and Myr, I have good captains. Their wildfire burns no hotter than my own. In the flames I saw green light brighter than the sun," she said. "I saw your ships burning on the water, trapped by iron, your fleet destroyed. You were not there when they died. You were ashore, alone, on your knees." Something flared in his eyes at that, a flicker of anger or unease. "On my knees? I kneel to no man." "You knelt to despair," she said softly. "To defeat, to the bitter comfort of knowing you had been wronged and the world had not been set right. That is another G. Odie's gift, not my lord's." Stannis's jaw clenched. He looked away again, toward the wind-dark sea. "You told me I would win the city." "You will," Melisandre said. The certainty of it rang in her throat like steel on stone. "But not as they expect. Not the way a stag charges, head down, antlers lowered. You must come like a shadow, unseen, where their walls are weakest and their watch is least. The bay must be a feint, no more than that. Your true strength must come by land." "By land?" The word was heavy with doubt. "You think I can march my army up to their gates unnoticed? There are eyes in every town from here to the capital. Ravens in every rookery. Eyes can be deceived," she said. "Ravens can be delayed. Men trust what they are prepared to see. They look for sails on the horizon and forget that boots can also cross ground." "What do you propose?" His tone said he half expected madness. She smiled, a small curling of lips. "Call for Lord Davos." Stannis stared at her a moment, then gave a curt nod. "Very well." He handed the torch to a passing man-at-arms. "Send for the Onion Knight. Tell him his king requires him." They waited in a draft of the sea wind. Melisandre could feel the future tight about them like a drawn bowstring. In the distance, waves crashed themselves to pieces on Dragonstone's rocks. Indifferent as ever. Davos came quickly, cloak thrown over his shoulders, hair wind-tossed. He smelled faintly of salt and tar, the sense of his life. He bowed low, eyes wary, not so much of Stannis, whom he loved in his way, but of the Red Woman by his side. "You sent for me, your grace." "Melisandre has had her visions again," Stannis said. He did not make it sound like a compliment. "She says the Lannisters have laid wildfire in the bay, and a chain below the water. In her flames she saw my fleet destroyed." Davos's weathered face darkened. "Wildfire, M-Lord? Well, they've the alchemists for it, that's certain true." He fell silent, eyes flicking between them, mind turning. "A chain's harder, takes time, iron, men. But if they had that time, a chain in that narrow water, you'd trap half a fleet before they'd know it." Stannis's mouth pressed thin. "We do not know this. We have only fire dreams and fancies." "We have more than that," Melisandre said. "We have the Lord's truth. You brought me to your service because you wish to win. I am telling you now that you will win if you heed me. If you do not, you will die. Not only you, your grace. The world. Always the world," Davos muttered, just a shade too low for courtesy. Melisandre heard him. She let the slight pass. There would not always be so much time for petty affronts. Not with what she had seen. "We must feign the assault by sea," she said. Let the Lion Queen think to burn you upon her bay. Let their sell sails and red priests and pyromancers gaze out to sea and see just what they fear. We will give them ships to burn. We will show them banners. But the heart of your strength must be elsewhere. There are ways into the city by land. Forgotten ways. I have seen them. Stannis' eyes narrowed. Forgotten ways? In the fire I saw a tunnel beneath a gate where the river meets the city, Melisandre said. The sight of it swam behind her eyes even now. Darkness, damp stone, rats skittering. I saw men move through filth and shadow to rise within the walls. I saw another gate, a smaller one, ill-guarded, where a certain gold-cloaked captain will turn his cloak again if given cause. Davos's brow furrowed. The mud gates where the river meets the city, M-Lord. But a tunnel under... He hesitated, thinking back over old tales and smugglers' whispers. There's talk of old drains and postern ways. Every city's got them. Though finding M and trusting M are two different things. Stannis glanced at him. You think it possible? Anything men can build, other men can crawl through, Davos said slowly. But like the Red Woman says, Your Grace, it'd be foul going. Rats, muck, gods know what else. You'd need men who won't balk at that. Quick, close-mouthed, used to dark places. He rubbed at his bearded jaw. Smugglers, in other words. Melisandre inclined her head. Who better to take a king where he should not be? Davos's mouth pulled tight. He did not relish the thought of skulking through holes like a rat. But he could see the shape of the plan, and Stannis could see it in his eyes. You've done worse to bring me onions, Stannis said. Will you do this to bring me a throne? Davos looked at him, then at Melisandre, then back. If it keeps you alive, he said at last. I'll do it. Melisandre felt the world shift then, subtly, as though some vast unseen weight had moved to one side. A choice had been made, path taken. The ships will still sail, she said. They must. Let the queen burn her wildfire on wood and wave while you move where she does not look. You will need all your cunning, Davos Seaworth. I will give you what aid I can. Davos looked as though he'd rather refuse that aid, but he only nodded, jaw tight. Tell me what you saw in your flames, my lady. Every turn, every twist you can remember. She began to speak. He listened, despite himself. The next days passed like a drawn breath. Orders flew from Dragonstone, carried by swift ships and swifter ravens. Captains were called and given new instructions. Banners were sorted and redistributed, with careful intention as to which would fly upon which mast and which would march beneath which spear. Some men found themselves reassigned from proud ships to the dull duty of trudging boots, and complained, until a withered glance from Stannis or a quiet word from Davos stilled their tongues. Melisandre watched it all, red hair whipping in the sea wind, eyes turned not to the present, but to the flicker of possible futures. Each time she went to the fires now, the visions sharpened rather than blurred. It was as if some veil that had always lain between her and the truth had burned away overnight. She saw more clearly than she ever had. She saw a gold cloak captain praying in a hollowed-out sept, torn between fear and greed and the sour pride of a man who has worn two colors and survived them both. She saw his hands shake when he took the bribe in one future, saw them clench white-knuckled as he refused in another. She saw Stannis' face bleeding on a black quay in one branch, a stray arrow through his eye. She saw that same arrow splinter upon a helmet in another, turned aside by half a finger's breadth. It was all so fragile. Can it be changed? She asked the fire, though she knew the answer. Or are we only ever walking the path you laid down before we were born? The flames did not answer. They seldom answered questions put so plainly. But they showed her a boy upon a wall of ice, his hair black as coal, a wolf's shadow at his feet. They showed her a girl with a sword slender as a needle, blood on her hands. They showed her dragons wheeling against a bruised sky, and snow falling where no snow had fallen in 1,000 years. Stannis was a piece upon that board, no more, no less, but he was a vital one. In some futures he lay dead in the snow, his crown buried with him, and those futures ended in cold. In others, he stood with a burning sword and the snow melted to water. Those futures ran on. They shone. "You are part of it," she whispered, looking at him as he moved amid his men, giving orders. "You are not the only part, but without you, the rest fails." She had always believed it. Now she knew it. On the morning they sailed, the sea lay iron-gray and unkind. The fleet pulled out of Dragonstone's harbor, banners snapping, oars churning. Melisandre stood at the prow of Stannis' flagship, the wind clawing at her hair. Beside her, Stannis gripped the rail, eyes on the distant smudge of land that was King's Landing. "You are certain," he said, not looking at her, "that this will work?" "There is no certainty," she said quietly. "There is only the better path. This is the better path. I have seen the other, and it ends in your death and the ruin of us all." He grunted. "Comforting." "It is, in truth," she said. "Because I know now what I did not always know, that when I read the flames wrongly, that too is my own doing, my own failing. Not the Lord of Lights. He shows. I must see. I did not always see so well. Here, I see clearly." He eyed her sidelong. "And what changed?" "I understood," she said, "that I am not his only instrument, that my pride is as dangerous as any shadow I might birth." I asked for clarity. He granted it, perhaps only for a time. "But while I have it, I will use it." Stannis' mouth twitched, almost a smile. "If you had told me years ago that you erred, I think I would have liked you more. If I had known it then, I would have liked myself more," she said. "Do you trust me, your grace?" He considered that long and hard. The wind whipped around them. "I trust that you believe what you say," he answered at last. "I trust that you want me on that throne for reasons of your own God. I trust that your fires have told you something. The rest is faith," she said. "I have always preferred proof," Stannis replied. "You shall have it," Melisandre promised. Proof came in small things first. As they neared the mouth of the Blackwater, sails furled, only certain ships drove forward in proud array. The decoys, heavy with pitch and tinder, flying Stannis' crowned stag big and bold. The rest of the fleet held back, oars idle, while smaller, swifter craft slipped away in the night, hugging the shore, sails dark. In their holds waited not soldiers, but ropes and grapnels and men accustomed to climbing walls in the dark for want of honest trade. Davos went with them. "I'll see you through, Lord," he'd said the night before, clasping Stannis' forearm. "Whatever way leads to that throne, I'll walk it at your side." "I will not be at your side," Stannis had said. "That's the point, Onion Knight. You'll be ahead of me for once." Davos had barked a laugh at that, but there was no mirth in it. He had looked to Melisandre, unease raw in his gaze. "Keep him safe," he'd muttered under his breath when Stannis turned away. "I will do what I can," she had replied. "The rest is in his hands. And yours." The first green flower blossomed on the water just before dawn. From the walls of King's Landing, men shouted, pointed. The Queen's pyromancers lit their pots one by one, loosing them in arcs of emerald fire that struck ships and burst them like eggs. Men screamed as the sea itself seemed to ignite. Smoke billowed thick and choking. The decoy ships burned gloriously, making of the Blackwater a hellish, flickering field. "Mother have mercy," someone whispered on one of the holding ships, watching it all from a safer distance. "Your mother's not here," Stannis said. "Row." The pounding of oars hit the water like another drumbeat. His lesser ships, the ones he had chosen to keep back, moved along the coast, staying outside the worst of the flames. Some would be lost yet. He could see that now, watching barrels of green fire bob dangerously close, but not all. Enough. On the walls, a bell clanged frantically. Gold cloaks rushed back and forth. They were looking at the bay. They were looking at the wrong threat. Davos and his men hit the mud and reeds of the far bank hours earlier, slipping from their small boats into waist-deep slime. The tunnel Melisandre had seen lay ahead, hidden beneath weed and rubble, its entrance choked with filth. The first sight of it made the men groan aloud. "You sure of this, Lord?" one hissed to Davos, wiping mud from his face. "We look like rat." "Yes, we do. I've been a rat before," Davos said, voice hard. "I smuggled onions to Storm's End while you lot were squealing in your mother's skirts. You think I'll balk at a bit of shit now? Move." They moved. The tunnel swallowed them, dark, narrow, rank with old rot. Rats skittered away from their fumbling feet. The air was thick and wet. Men coughed and cursed and gagged, but they kept going, drawn onward by Davos's low growl and the knowledge that behind them, men were burning for this chance. In the dead center of that foul passage, Davos hesitated. Not for his own sake. He had walked worse places, but because for a heartbeat he felt something press on him, like a hand at the nape of his neck. He saw, unbidden, a flash of green light, the sea boiling, himself clinging to a piece of broken mast as the black water burned around him. He saw his sons' faces, young and eager, twisted in fire. Then he saw a different image, a throne room lined with stone. Stannis upon the Iron Throne, gaunt and grim and alive. Davos himself, older, more scarred, standing at his right hand. And beyond the windows of that hall, snow falling in the streets. He sucked in a breath and shuddered. The sensation passed. "Move!" he snarled again, his voice rougher than ever. "We're close now, I can smell them. Rich folk smell different. Did you know that? Less shit, more perfume." The men chuckled despite themselves, the sound muffled by stone. Feet sloshed onward. They emerged into the city like revenants, rising out of a storm drain into a narrow alley behind one of the lesser gates. Goldcloaks lounged there, 5 of them, bored and bickering, their attention on the green glow over the walls. The first they knew of Stannis Baratheon's men within their walls was when a hand clamped over a mouth and a knife slid across a throat. "On to the gate," Davos hissed. "Quiet as you can until we're not, then loud as you like." The first gate fell within minutes, its guards dragged down in confusion and terror. The second took longer. By the third, the city was fully awake. Bells ringing, people screaming, soldiers racing back and forth, unsure where the attack had come from. The bay still burned, Cersei Lannister's proud trap working beautifully on ships she no longer needed to fear. But fire could not eat stone. Men could. Stannis came ashore at a small postern where the gold cloak captain awaited him, breath steaming, eyes white with fear. "You swear?" Stannis said, every word an accusation as he weighed the man's treachery to one master against his service to another. "I swear, your grace," the guard stammered, shaking. "We've been getting half rations for months. They beat old men in the streets while their lordlings feast. You pay better, they'll wear whatever colors you ask. Just don't burn us." Stannis's lip curled. Mercy had never come easily to him, but there was no time for justice. "You'll have your pay," he said curtly. "Open the gate." The gate creaked. Stannis's men poured in. The battle for King's Landing, as the singers later styled it, was not the grand tide of ships crashing on walls that the Lannisters had prepared for. It was narrower, dirtier, fought in alleys and at doorways, under dripping arches and on staircases slick with blood. Lannister men-at-arms, taken by surprise, scrambled to form lines. Goldcloaks split and scattered, some fighting, some throwing down their cloaks, some vanishing into the panicked crowds. Tyrion Lannister, battle-axe in hand, led one desperate countercharge at the mud gate, rallying men with curses and crude jests. He was a small man, but bravery came in all sizes. For a moment he stemmed the tide. For a moment he almost believed they could push the invaders back into the filth they'd climbed from. Then a horn blew, deep, brazen, unfamiliar. From a side street, another wave of armored men smashed into his flank, their shields bearing the crowned stag of Baratheon. They had come not from the bay but from the eastern gates, thrown open by treachery and coin. The gold cloak captain, who might have turned his cloak again and betrayed Stannis in another life, chose differently in this one. He led his men against his former fellows, teeth bared, and the line broke. Tyrion went down under the press, unseen. A mace glanced from his helm, his vision went white, then black. He did not rise again that day. Up on the Red Keep, Cersei Lannister watched the city burn. Not with the triumphant satisfaction she had expected, but with dawning horror. The wildfire on the bay was working beautifully, yes, but the streets below were chaos. Men in strange colors were fighting in the alleys. Somewhere bells were ringing, not for battle, but for surrender. How? She hissed, fingers digging into the stone sill. How did they get inside? Varys spread his soft hands. Smugglers, perhaps, or treachery within the watch. Such things are easy to buy, my lady. She rounded on him, eyes wild. You assured me the gold cloaks would hold, that Joffrey's men would stand, that chain would save us. The chain has done its duty, Varys said mildly. Your Grace, this is not yet lost. Lord Tywin may still arrive. He did not finish the sentence. The door burst inward. A man with a mailed fist and a burned, flat face stepped through, sword red. His armor bore a black stag on a field of gold. The Baratheon colors turned upside down in mockery of the old order. Ser Meryn, Cersei breathed. Kill him. Meryn Trant moved forward, sluggish and sweating, blade scraping from its sheath. The hound moved faster. He cut Meryn down in 3 strokes, sending him crashing in a spray of blood. Then he sheathed his own blade with jerked, efficient motions and looked at Cersei with eyes like dark pits. I'm done with this, he said, voice raw. Done with wildfire and screaming and fucking king. S who aren't men enough to stand their own fight. Stannis is here. Best you go down and beg for your life if you want it. And he walked away. Your Grace, Varys murmured. You must decide quickly. Cersei's face was pale as chalk. The goblet in her hand trembled, dark wine spilling like blood. In some other time, some other branching path, she would have taken her son below to die by her own poison rather than let Stannis have him. But this was not that day. The door burst open again. They came grim as winter, men in plate, bearing the stag. Behind them walked their king. Stannis Baratheon strode into the throne room as though it had always been his. His armor was battered, his cheek cut, blood drying on his jaw. His sword was naked in his hand. The Iron Throne loomed behind him like a nest of shadows and blades. Cersei drew herself up on the dais, crown glittering in her hair. Joffrey clung to her skirts, sobbing, his face blotched red. You come as a rebel, she said, her voice trembling but loud. A usurper. This is treason, Lord Stannis. King Stannis, he corrected. You know well enough the line of succession, Cersei Lannister. Your bastard, there was never lawful king of anything. You made a puppet of my brother's memory and stuffed it with your twin seed. The realm knows it. I will see it set right. Lies, Joffrey spat. Lies and filth. Mother. Hush, Cersei hissed, her nails biting into his shoulder. You think you can prove such obscenities? Who stands with you? Some eastern priestess and a flock of turncloak scum? Where is your proof, Stannis? Stannis lifted his sword. In your bed. The words hit like stones. A murmur ran through the throne room. Among the courtiers and servants who had not already fled, eyes flicked to Jaime Lannister, standing white-faced among the Kingsguard, one hand resting where his other hand should have been. You, Cersei began. Enough, Stannis said. This day is not for words. This is what mercy I'll give you. Yield. Lay down your crown. Bring the boy forward and surrender him into my custody. Do this, and I will spare your lives, though not your freedom. Surrender, Cersei laughed, wild and high. To you? To a sour, joyless. She did not finish. Joffrey had snatched a knife from her belt, shrieking. He flung himself forward, blade darting toward Stannis with all the clumsy fury of a boy accustomed to hurting things that could not hurt him back. Stannis moved as he always moved, directly. He stepped into the attack, knocking the boy's arm aside with his sword hilt. Joffrey stumbled, for a heartbeat steel flashed between them. Then, Somehow, impossibly, the boy was impaled upon the sword that should have only warded him. It slid into his chest up to the hilt. There was a silence heavy as stone. Joffrey's mouth worked soundlessly. He stared down at the blade in his chest with stupid disbelief, then up at the hard, uncompromising face of the man who held it. "Mother," he whispered. Then he sagged, the strength going out of his legs, and hung on the sword like a broken puppet. Stannis pulled the blade free. The boy crumpled to the steps at the foot of the Iron Throne. Blood spread, dark and absurdly small beneath him. Cersei screamed. "Take her," Stannis said. The Kingsguard moved, some toward him, some toward her, some toward nowhere at all. Jaime Lannister hesitated an instant too long. Men crashed together in a whirl of steel and white cloaks and gold lions. When it was over, 3 of the White Knights lay dead, one including the Lord Commander. Jaime himself knelt with his wrists bound, eyes burning with hatred. Cersei was dragged away shrieking, her crown rolling across the floor to fetch up beneath the throne. Stannis mounted those cruel, twisted steps slowly, sword in hand, his face stonier than ever. Melisandre watched from the back of the hall, her heart beating a strange, slow rhythm. The fire in her mind hummed. She saw again the image of this hall, of Stannis upon this throne. It had come to pass. But in her earlier vision there had been snow outside the windows. Today they showed only smoke and ash and a distant, taunting blue sky. It is not finished, she thought. This is only a piece. Stannis reached the top. He turned, regarded the throne as though it were some enemy to be weighed and measured. "Sit, your grace," Davos said hoarsely from below, still in his mail, face streaked with gore and filth. "You've earned it." Stannis looked at him. Then he sat. The Iron Throne swallowed him, blades rearing about him like a cage. It seemed, for a heartbeat, to reject him, as it had rejected so many, pricking at his back, biting at his legs. Blood welled on his left hand where a concealed barb caught him. He did not flinch. He let the blood run. The court watched, breath held. "Bring me parchment," Stannis said. His voice rolled through the hall, cold and sure. "And a good quill. The war for the throne is done. The war for the realm begins now." The war for the throne was not done, of course. Crowns never sat easy, and a single victory could not erase 1,000 grudges. But for that day, that hour, King's Landing belonged to Stannis Baratheon. In the weeks that followed, the city learned a harder sort of justice than it had ever known. Lannister loyalists were rooted out, some by confession, some by torture, some by mere suspicion. For Stannis's justice was fierce but not always precise. Tyrion Lannister, discovered alive but broken from his wound at the gate, was dragged before him in chains. The dwarf had saved the city once from Stannis's own fury. Now he faced the man he had thwarted. "You did your duty as you saw it," Stannis said when Tyrion stood bloody and swaying before the throne. "You defended the city for the king you believed lawful. I have killed that boy with my own hand. His mother is in chains. His grandsire will no doubt seek my blood in turn. The game is ended. What remains is the realm. Will you serve it?" Tyrion blinked. "You'd have me as what? Your pet monster? Your dwarf to jape and juggle while you glower?" "I'd have you as what you are," Stannis said. "A man who knows the cesspit and how to keep it from poisoning the rest of the kingdom. You held the city against me with half your rightful strength. I would see what you do with the whole." Tyrion squinted up at him, measuring, weighing. "And my father? Tywin Lannister is Lord of Casterly Rock," Stannis said. "He bends the knee to the true king or he loses his head, the same as any lord. As for you, you are his son. You will answer for the crimes you've done, not his." "And what crimes do you lay at my door?" Tyrion asked tartly. "Taking command when no one else would? Throwing wildfire at your ships instead of your men? You consorted with serpents, slept with whores, and played at court while the common folk starved," Stannis said. "But so did most men in this city. Your greater crime would be wasting what you might yet do. I ask again, Will you serve? Tyrion looked around at the hall. The scorched banners, the wary faces, the iron throne looming above. He laughed, a short, sharp bark that turned into a cough. 7 hells, he muttered. I suppose if I said no, you'd kill me. No, Stannis said. I would hang you until you said yes. Davos, have this man cleaned and given quill and ink. If he proves false, I'll burn him. If he proves true, I'll endure him. Davos grimaced. Aye, your grace. He laid a hand on Tyrion's shoulder, perhaps a touch harder than strictly necessary. Come on, then. Let's see if you can be half as clever for us as you were against us. As King's Landing staggered into this new, harsher order, word spread through the realm like fire in dry grass. The boy king was dead. His mother was captive. Stannis Baratheon sat the Iron Throne. Robb Stark, king in the north, received the news in a rainy camp far south of where he'd hoped to be. He read the Raven's message once, twice, 3 times, brows drawing together. So Tywin Lannister's still at large, he said at last. And the man who took his grandson's throne wants my allegiance. He passed the letter to Catelyn. She read it with stiff, weary fingers, lips pressed thin. Stannis' words were blunt, even in ink. He named Joffrey bastard and usurper, offered terms to the north. Recognition of Robb's title, retention of Winterfell and its lands, no southern taxes for 10 years, in exchange for fealty in the war to come. What war? Robb muttered. He already has the throne. There's always another war, Catelyn said softly. He speaks of the Greyjoys raiding your shores, of unrest in the Reach, of dragons across the narrow sea. Robb snorted. Stories. Dragons were stories once, Catelyn said. Then one flew over Harrenhal 300 years ago and the world burned. She looked up at him, eyes dark and tired. We have lost much, Robb. We cannot fight all men everywhere. Winterfell is sacked. Your brothers and sisters are scattered or dead. How many will follow you if there is hope of peace? Robb turned away, staring into the damp fog beyond the tent's flap. His hand curled unconsciously around the hilt at his hip. Gray wind paced restlessly outside, a shadow in the mist. I bent the knee once, he said, to the son of the man who killed my father. It brought me nothing but loss. This is different, Catelyn said. This man did not kill your father. He shows some rigor, at least in his justice. And he has no love for the Lannisters. He has a priestess of some foreign god whispering in his ear. Robb shot back. You've heard the tales. Shadowspawn in Storm's End. Burning of idols and men. The old gods are silent, Catelyn said. The new are distant. His god answers. Perhaps that is what we need in days like these. Or perhaps it will burn us all, Robb said. Melisandre watched these conversations too, in her fires. The north flickered before her, the boy king pacing, the mother pleading, the wolf prowling. Every choice they made tugged at the fabric she had seen. In one future Robb refused, and his head ended up on a spike as in the path she dimly remembered. In another he agreed, marched south as Stannis' ally, and Winterfell was left too thinly defended against harsher foes. But there was a third path now. She could see it clearly, could almost step into it. Send him terms again, she told Stannis, standing by the window of the solar that had been Robert's. Outside, the city stank of smoke and sewage. The red keep stones were still blackened from dragonfire of long ago. Offer him more than paper promises. Offer him your daughter. Stannis' brows snapped together.
Shireen?
Not as a hostage, Melisandre said calmly. As a bond, a marriage alliance. She is young yet, but so is he. Betroth them. Make the north your kin. The boy is proud. Give him a crown to match yours, even if you must name it something else. Warden of the North, perhaps, or King of Winter in truth. Let him call himself what he likes, so long as when the time comes he marches when you call. Stannis scowled. I will not split the realm. There must be one king, one law. There will be one king, she said. You. But a king cannot fight on every front at once. You will need men who fight for you because they have chosen you, not because you have forced their necks under your boot. Offer the boy Stark honor as well as duty and he will come. Insult him and you will make another enemy. Davos shifted where he stood by the door. Your Grace, there's sense in that. We can't hold the North from down here. We barely held Dragonstone. You'll need someone strong up there if you're to deal with whatever it is the Red Woman coup. Ep's going on about. The true war, Melisandre said quietly. The war for the dawn. Stannis' gaze flicked to her. I have heard enough of this winter ghost tale. You have not heard enough, she said. Not yet. The throne was a step, nothing more. The visions that led me here were never about gold chairs and sharpened swords. They were about ice, about death that does not stay dead, about a darkness that eats the world, comes from the north. If you rule the south and leave the north to crumble, you will have won nothing. Your law will crack under the weight of snow. Stannis' jaw flexed. He looked at the parchment spread across his desk, the accounts of grain, the censuses, the lists of men sworn anew and those fled or executed, the matters of kingship, tedious but vital. How long? He asked. Years, Melisandre said, or less. The timeline shifts with every choice. But it is not generations off, Your Grace. It is in your lifetime, in your reign, if you live to face it. Comforting, he muttered again. He rubbed at his brow. Very well. I will offer the boy more generous terms. I will not promise what I will not give. But if a marriage between him and Shireen will bind him, I will consider it. You must promise, Melisandre said. I will consider it, Stannis repeated harder. She inclined her head. It was more than she would have won from him weeks ago. Proof, she thought again. Always he needs proof. Proof came that winter in the form of ravens from the wall. The letters they carried were desperate things. Ink smeared, words hurried. Lord Commander Jeor Mormont wrote of queer sights beyond the wall, of dead men walking, of blue eyes in the forest night. Others bore a different hand but spoke of the same horrors. Snow that did not melt, cold that burned the flesh, creatures in the dark. Lunacy, one of Stannis' lords said when the letters were read aloud in the council chamber. Old wives' tales and wildling tricks. Wildlings can't make corpses walk, Davos said. I've seen bad things in bad places, but not like that. They lie, another insisted. The Night's Watch is always begging for more. Men, gold, grain. They spin tales to frighten us into opening our purses. And what if they do not lie? Melisandre asked, stepping forward, her voice cutting clean through the muttering. What if half of what they say is true? Will you laugh when the dead reach your door? Enough. Stannis' tone brooked no argument. He held one of the letters in his own hand, eyes scanning the cramped script. Lord Commander Mormont is not a fool. He is not a liar. He swore his life to the wall. He writes as a man who has seen something that should not be. He looked to Melisandre. This is what you spoke of. Yes, she said simply. This is the beginning. Stannis' gaze dropped back to the paper. He was quiet for a long time. He asks for men, he said at last. For help. The lords of the realm sit fat in their halls and ignore him. The boy king in Winterfell, it seems he holds to his pride and waits also. If I send men north, I weaken my hold here. My brother's son in Storm's End mutters of rebellion. The Reach eyes me with suspicion. The Iron Islands raid the coast. There are 100 threats close to hand. And you would have me chase Snow. I would have you fight the only war that matters, Melisandre said. Easy words for you, Stannis replied. You stand in no danger from any of them. She met his gaze without flinching. I stand in every danger that touches you. He studied her a moment. Davos watched them both, something uneasy twisting low in his gut. He trusted the king. He did not trust the woman. But he had seen enough now of burned ships that should have been his grave, of gates opened and battles turned by the thin thread of a choice, to know that something worked in their favor through her. Whether that something was good or ill remained to be seen. "I will go," Stannis said. The word dropped like a stone into a still pond, sending ripples through the chamber. "Your Grace," one of the lords protested at once. "You cannot mean you would leave the capital? The throne? Let the wolves and lions and krakens have their way while you freeze on some cursed wall of ice." "I have men enough to hold the city," Stannis said. "Davos will remain with a garrison. Tyrion Lannister will continue his work in keeping the vipers in their baskets. I will take such men as I can spare, and I will ride north. The true king defends his realm where it is most threatened. If this threat is as great as the letters say, I will meet it. If it is not, I will see with my own eyes and judge accordingly." "It's folly," another lord said. "Who will respect a king who runs to the wall like some black-clad crow?" "Those who live," Stannis said. "Those whose children I keep from freezing in their beds. If it is folly, at worst I will be seen as a man who answered when his subjects called. If it is not folly—" He let the words hang. The flames in the braziers seemed to lean toward him. Melisandre's heart beat faster, not with fear but with something like fierce joy. She had seen this moment in the flames a dozen times a dozen ways, and in most of them Stannis turned away. He dismissed the letters as lies, or sent a token force north while he remained in the safety of the south. Those paths led to ruin. This one, the one he chose now, sparked a different light. "I will go," he said again. "Davos, make the arrangements." Davos bowed, though the thought of his king freezing on some distant wall turned his stomach to ice. "Aye, your grace." He found Melisandre later in the Godswood that was no Godswood. A little walled courtyard with a solitary dead tree, pale and twisted, its red leaves long since fallen. The south had no use for the old gods, but the space was quiet and Melisandre ked the way the bare branches clawed at the sky like fingers. "You're pleased," Davos said without greeting. "Yes," she said. "You mean for him to die up there?" he asked bluntly. "I've heard your talk of chosen ones and burning swords. I've seen you look at him like a smith at a piece of metal that won't bend the way he wants. Do you mean him to die?" She turned to him, eyes very bright. "I mean him to live," she said. "I have seen his death, Onion Night. I have seen him fall on a field of snow, his blood soaking into the ice, his crown shattered. In those futures, the night wins. It spreads, and everything you know is swallowed. I seek the futures where he does not die, where the night is driven back. That is why I push him north. I would not send him to his death. I send him to his destiny." Davos snorted. "Destiny. Funny word. Most times I've heard it. It's come from a man about to throw someone else into danger, not himself." "Stannis is not someone else," Melisandre said. "He is the sword that must be raised. Do you know what I saw when the fire grew clear, Davos Seaworth? I saw not one man, but three flames in the dark. One was Stannis. One was a boy at the wall. The third bugs me yet. A girl across the sea, perhaps, or a man with dragons. But all three are threads of one tapestry. If I cut one, the weave unravels. If I change the color of another, the picture shifts. Stannis must go north. So must I. So must you, I think." "Me?" Davos said, startled. "I've no business on the wall. I do more good down here, keeping this lot from tearing each other apart while the king's gone." "You think so," Melisandre said, "and perhaps you are right. But I have seen you on the ice. I have seen you standing beside Stannis in the snow. I have seen your hand upon his shoulder when all seems lost. You are needed there as much as here." Davos scowled, uneasy. "Why couldn't I have been needed on a warm beach in Dorne instead?" "Because the Lord of Light is not kind in that way," Melisandre said almost gently. "He gives us what we need, not what we want." "Then he's as bad as the Seven," Davos muttered. "He went north anyway. They took fewer men than Melisandre would have liked, more than the lords thought safe. A hard, lean force. Knights without too much polish, spearmen who had seen real battle, Sells-words with nothing better to do. a handful of highborn scions hungry for glory. Melisandre rode near the front, the wind tearing at her red robes, her cheeks numb from the cold long before they saw any snow. Stannis rode at the head, jaw clenched, eyes forward. He did not complain. He never did. At Winterfell, they found a charred ruin and bitter ghosts. Robb Stark had taken Stannis' second letter, read it, and written a reply that never reached the capital. The Greyjoys struck too quickly, and the Northmen's march south to join the king had left his home too weak. The betrayal of his bannermen at the Twins, the slaughter at that false feast, had never come to pass. Walder Frey had weighed his options differently now that Tywin Lannister was not on the throne to back his plots, but the North had bled all the same. The Boltons, always sniffing for advantage, had moved against their liege in the confusion. They held Winterfell now in this broken, smoking shell of a hall, flayed man banners snapping bitterly above the gate. They did not hold it for long. Winterfell's second fall was swifter and uglier than the first. Stannis showed the same ruthlessness with traitors in the north as in the south. Roose Bolton died on his knees in the ashes of the Great Hall, his eyes as cold as ever until the sword took his head. His bastard son howled and flung himself at Stannis like a rabid dog, only to be brought down by a spear thrust through the throat. The flayed man banners burned in the courtyard. In their place, Stannis ordered the direwolf of Stark restored, even though no Stark remained within those walls to claim it. "It will remind the North who they are," he said when Davos questioned him quietly. "They were wolves long before they were my subjects. I would rather they be wolves than flayed men. I can work with wolves." Melisandre stood in the God's Wood of Winterfell, touching the weirwood's smooth, pale trunk. The face carved into it stared at her, mouth grim, eyes bleeding red sap. She felt something old in this place, something that did not belong to her god yet hummed with a power all its own. "We will need all the help we can get," she murmured to the silent tree. "Yours and mine and all the rest. The night does not care what god you pray to when it comes." The tree did not answer, but for the first time in her life, Melisandre felt watched by something older than herself. They rode on. At the wall, the brothers of the Night's Watch stared at them in disbelief, as if some half-forgotten prayer had been answered in flesh. "You came?" Lord Commander Mormont said when Stannis dismounted in the courtyard. The old bear's beard was more frost than hair now, his eyes sunk deep. "By the gods, you actually came." "I received your letters," Stannis said. "The realm ignored you." "I will not. Tell me everything." Mormont did. He spoke of dead men walking, of blue-eyed horrors, of an army beyond the wall that did not eat or tire or fear. He spoke of a young steward who had stood against one of the creatures and survived, blade turned black in his hand. He spoke of wildlings in their tens of thousands marching for the wall not to raid, but to flee. "Jon Snow," Melisandre said when she heard the name. Her skin prickled. "The boy I saw. You know him?" Mormont asked. "In a manner of speaking," she said. "Not yet, but soon." She found him in the yard, sword in hand, sweat steaming in the cold air. He was tall for his age, dark-haired, with eyes gray as winter stone. A dire wolf, padded at his heel, white as snow, red eyes watchful. When she approached, the beast's hackles rose. "Easy," the boy murmured, resting a hand on its flank. "Ghost. Easy, boy." He looked at her then, wary. She saw surprise in his gaze and something like a challenge. "You're the king's witch," he said. "I am the king's priestess," she answered. "And you are Jon Snow." His mouth tightened at the word snow, but he nodded. "I am. What do you want with me?" "I want to see your hand," she said. Suspicion flickered across his face. "Why?" "Because you touched one of them," she said quietly. "One of the others, and your sword lived. I would know why." His gaze sharpened. "How do you?" "I see things," she said. "In the flames." He hesitated, then slowly extended his right hand. It was a boy's hand, calloused from sword work, fingers long and strong. There was no mark on it that an ordinary eye could see. But Melisandre was not ordinary. She could feel a shiver in the air around it, a faint echo of cold that did not come from the wall. "Interesting," she murmured, lightly touching his palm. He flinched. "You burned one of them, they say, with your sword." "With Sam's dragonglass knife first," Jon said. "The sword only finished it. It went strange, black, like all the light had been sucked out of it. I thought it would shatter, but it didn't. It's still in my rack, if you want to see it." "I do," she said. "It is not the steel that matters, though. It is the hand that wielded it." The boy frowned. "If you say so, I think you'd get on with Thuras." "Who?" "Red Priest," Jon said. "Drinks like a fish, got a flaming sword. Waved it around at the Siege of Pike, they say. The lads talk about him like he's a bloody hero." Melisandre filed that name away. "Another Red Priest, another thread in the tapestry. Interesting. You have a part to play in what is coming," she said. "You and my king and others yet. The night fears you, Jon Snow." He snorted. "The night doesn't even know my name." "It will," she said softly. Stannis spent long hours in council with Mormont and his officers, studying maps, listening, asking hard questions. He did not dismiss their tales. He did not scoff at their fears. He had seen enough of strange things by now to know lunacy when it stared him in the face, and this was not that. The north hummed with a chill that went beyond mere weather. The men who had seen the dead walk had eyes that no one feigning fear could match. "We cannot fight them with swords alone," Melisandre said when they gathered by candlelight over a crude map of the lands beyond the wall. Her fingers cast long shadows over the inked lines. "Steel breaks on their blades. Fire harms them. Dragonglass kills them. There may be other things. Old magics. We will need them all." "We've little of that fancy black glass left," Mormont grunted. "We found some in an old cache. There could be more out there. Hard to know, and harder to get to with that army between us and anything else." "Killing the dead is one thing," Davos said quietly. "Stopping more from being made is another. Kill one and they make 10 more in his place. 'Tis no war a man can win forever." "They take our dead," Mormont confirmed. "Turn them. We've taken to burning bodies when we can. Not always possible after a fight in the woods." Jon, standing near the fire, spoke up. "Sam thinks there must be something they fear," he said. "Something old. He's been reading. The children of the forest, the first men. Some pact was made. Some magic set in the wall to keep them out. Maybe that can be woken up again, or strengthened." Stannis snorted, but it was less derisive than it might once have been. "You think to fight sorcery with sorcery, boy?" "I think we'll need more than swords and courage," Jon said steadily. "Begging your pardon, your grace." Melisandre watched him with growing attention. Here was the second flame, she was nearly sure. Not the way she had first thought. Not crowned, not carrying a sword of blazing light, but vital nonetheless. A spark that could catch and spread. In some of her visions, he wore black for all his days. In others, he wore a crown of snow. In still others, he lay stabbed on the ice, betrayed by his own. Those last futures she pushed away. She would not let them come to pass if she could help it. "We will go beyond the wall," Stannis said. "We will see this enemy for ourselves." Mormont blinked. "Your Grace, it's dangerous enough sending patrols as it is. Arranging with you along. If I am to lead men in this war, I will see the foe with my own eyes," Stannis said. "I will not sit atop a wall and take tales like some fat southern lord. I will go. So will my priestess. So will you, if you can still ride." Melisandre inclined her head. "I would have gone if you did not bid it. The fire shows me much. But there is a part of this the fire cannot touch. The wall is older than my faith. There is power there that clashes with mine. I must feel it." "You'll feel the cold," Davos muttered. The next days were a blur of preparation. Men chosen, horses shod with spikes for the ice, dragonglass knives and arrowheads distributed with care. Jon Snow stood by the gate as they made ready to leave, Ghost pressed close at his side. "You'll come too," Stannis said. looking down at him. Jon's eyes widened. "Your grace, my vows." "Your vows bind you to the Night's Watch," Stannis said, "to defend the realm of men. I am the king of that realm. I ride to defend it. You will come, unless you think your black cloak binds you more tightly than your duty to the living." Jon's jaw worked. He glanced at Mormont, at the wall, at the cold sky. "I'll go," he said, "if the Lord Commander allows it." Mormont grunted. "You'll go, Snow. You're no use to me if the king doesn't trust you. Maybe you'll Leah. RN's something out there worth bringing back." They rode out through the gate, the world closing behind them in a groan of old wood and iron. The lands beyond the wall were a white silence broken only by the crunch of hooves and the ragged breaths of men and beasts. The trees towered black and skeletal, branches clawing at the sky like hands. The air cut at their faces like knives. Melisandre had never known such cold. She wrapped her furs tighter, the ruby at her throat a small, stubborn warmth. The further they rode, the more she felt the old magic of this place press against her own, like two magnets pushing away or drawing together. She could not yet tell which. They found the first dead man 3 days out. He lay half buried in snow, his face turned to the sky, eyes milky. His mouth was open as if he had died screaming. There were no tracks around him, no sign of what had killed him. He should have been frozen stiff, limbs locked by ice. Instead, when one of the rangers nudged him with his spear, the corpse jerked. It sat up. Men shouted, horses shied. The dead ranger's eyes snapped open, bright and blue and wrong. It moved with a jerky, inhuman speed, clawing at the spear that pinned it. Melisandre felt the cold of it like a spike through her chest. "Hold," Stannis barked, wheeling his horse. He did not flinch, but Davos saw his knuckles whiten on the reins. Jon was quicker. He slid from his saddle, sword already in his hand. Ghost darted forward, teeth bared in a silent snarl. The White lurched toward them, hands reaching, blue eyes fixed on Jon's living throat. Jon's blade flashed. It was the same sword that had turned black beneath the touch of the other. Now, as it bit into dead flesh, Melisandre saw a faint shimmer along its length. Not flame, nothing so obvious, but a thin, pale light, like moon glow on water. The White's head toppled from its shoulders. The body staggered, arms flailing, then collapsed, limbs twitching. "Fire!" Melisandre snapped. "Burn it! Burn the pieces!" They did. The smell was worse than anything she had known, worse than the tunnels under King's Landing, worse than the pyres she had lit. The men gagged and cursed. Fire ate the stiff, wrong flesh and made it ash. "That's only one," Davos said quietly when it was done. "There are more," Melisandre said. "Much more." They saw signs of the host before they saw the host itself. Frost burned black where it should have been white. Trees split with cold beyond what nature could manage. Campsites left in panic, fires still smoldering, pots overturned. Once they found a whole village of wildlings, huts crushed inward as if something had leaned on them from above. There were no bodies. That was worse. "How many?" Stannis asked Mormont one night as they crouched over a meager fire, breath pluming. "How many of these things do you believe there are?" Mormont shook his head. "Thousands, at least. More. For every man they kill and don't burn, they gain another. We've burned what we can. We haven't been able to burn enough." "You can't fight numbers like that in the open," Davos said. "They don't tire, they don't rout. You'd get worn down, pinned, eaten." "We must fight them where they are weakest," Melisandre said. "Their strength is not their own. It flows from somewhere, someone. A mind at the heart of them, or at least a will. Cut off the head, the body stumbles." Stannis stared into the flames. His face was drawn, hollowed by cold and care, but his eyes burned. "You've seen this head?" "Not clearly," Melisandre admitted. "I have seen a shape, a figure in the snow, horns of ice, eyes like knives, a king in the north of the north. They fear him and obey him both. If we can find him in all this?" Jon said incredulously, gesturing to the endless dark woods. "We don't even know if he's a man. or if there's just one of him. He could be a story or 20 of them. They called him the Night's King once, Samwell Tarly had said back at the wall, voice shaking. Long ago, a Lord Commander who took a bride with skin like the moon and eyes like blue stars. He ruled from the Night Fort and did things, bad things, until the North and the Free Folk joined to cast him down. Stories, a ranger had said then. Stories matter, Melisandre said now. Stories remember when men forget. Somewhere in those tales is a truth, a king of night or a mind of ice. We must find him. We must unmake him. How? Stannis demanded. Do your fires show you a path? She closed her eyes. The chill bit through her layers. The ruby at her throat pulsed faintly. She inhaled the smoke of their small fire, tasting more than wood. In her mind, the flames leapt higher, brighter, turning blue-white. She saw snow and a clearing ringed by dead trees, their branches thick with something that looked like ice and bone. She saw a circle of stones, old and rough, half buried in frost. In the center of that circle stood a figure, tall and thin, its flesh pale as milk. Its eyes burned blue. Around it gathered others of its kind, weapons in hand. At the edge of that circle she saw 3 figures. A man in a crown that burned without fire, a boy in black with a white wolf at his side, and a woman in red. She gasped, eyes snapping open. North, she said. Further north than even you have gone. There is a place of power, old as anything here. He waits there. He will not come to the wall yet. He is gathering, testing, but he will stand there soon. If we can reach it first, we may have a chance to strike. If we are too late, Stannis nodded once, sharply. Then we ride north. There were protests. There were always protests. They came from men who had seen enough of this frozen hellscape and wanted no more. From those who thought it madness to plunge deeper into the dark. From Davos, who feared for his king's life, and from Mormont W. Ho worried for his dwindling brothers. Stannis listened to them all. Then he went north. They rode until the trees thinned and the world rose into low, icy hills, their flanks bare and wind-scoured. The snow underfoot turned hard as stone, the wind a knife that carved at their faces. Horses stumbled and had to be put down, their carcasses left for whatever things dared feed in that desolation. Men's cheeks turned white in patches that did not feel cold anymore. Those patches had to be cut away. Frostbite claimed fingers, ears, a nose. Still they rode. At night the aurora danced overhead, eerie green and purple lights rippling across the stars. It was beautiful in a way that hurt. Ghost padded ahead, unbothered by the cold, nose to the wind. He would halt sometimes, sniffing, growling low. Jon trusted him more than maps that showed little beyond vague lines and names. On the 7th night, beyond the last mark of even wildling maps, they saw them. It began with a hush. The wind, which had howled ceaselessly for days, slowed. The sound of it dimmed, as if muffled by thick cloth. The air grew colder still, a deep, biting cold that seemed to reach inside their clothes, their skin, their bones. The horses shifted, snorted, eyes rolling. Then shapes appeared on the ridge ahead. At first they could have been men. Tall, thin, armored in something that gleamed like ice. They moved with a terrible grace, each step silent on the snow. Their eyes shone a fierce, unnatural blue. Behind them, in the deeper darkness, there were others. Things that moved wrong, shuddering and twitching, eyes bright. The dead. 7 save us, someone whispered. Melisandre's breath caught. The power in the air was like nothing she had felt before. Old and alien. Not hot, but a kind of negative heat. A hunger for warmth. It pressed against her own magic, made the ruby at her throat burn cold and hot at once. At their head rode a figure taller than the rest. It wore no helm. Its hair was long and white, its skin the pale blue of deep ice. Horns of frozen crystal curled from its brow. Its eyes were twin shards of winter. It sat a horse as dead as any of its minions, ribs visible beneath rotted hide, hooves leaving no prints in the snow. The Night's King, Melisandre whispered, or something like him. Stannis pushed his horse forward, sword already in hand. The blade looked small in his fist, an ordinary steel sword against this impossible enemy. Yet there was nothing of surrender in him. "Form lines," he barked. "Spears forward. Archers, what archers we have, knock and hold. Do not break. Do not run. Remember your king is watching." He did not address the dead. He did not waste words on an enemy who might not understand their tongue. The Night's King, or whatever name it bore, halted its mount at the edge of a shallow hollow between the two forces. It tilted its head as if studying them. The air around it crackled faintly, frost forming intricate patterns in the air itself. When it spoke, the sound was like ice cracking on a deep lake. No man there understood the words. Melisandre did, not because she knew the language, but because the meaning cut straight into her mind. "This is our world," the voice said without words. "You burn too bright. You consume and are consumed. We endure. We have always endured. Go back to your brief fire and die in the dark." She straightened in her saddle, drawing herself up, the ruby at her throat flaring with a sudden, fierce heat. "This world belongs to the living," she said aloud. Her breath steamed. "To those who feel warmth and pain and love. Not to you. Not anymore." The Night's King's gaze turned upon her. She felt it like knives across her skin. It saw her. A flicker of red in the sea of white. A spark. It recognized her, or at least what she was. Priestess. Flamebearer. Then it looked at Stannis. Here, Melisandre felt something like interest flare in that icy regard. The dead king's gaze lingered on the crown on Stannis's helm, the hard line of his jaw, the stubborn set of his shoulders. It did not speak again. It merely raised one long, pale hand. The dead moved. They surged forward in a wave of rattling armor and stiff limbs, silent save for the crunch of snow and the creak of old leather. Their eyes blazed. Behind them, the others moved more slowly, like generals letting their lesser soldiers break the first ranks. "Hold!" Stannis shouted. "Hold!" They held. The first clash was brutal. Steel bit into dead flesh and found it tough as cured leather. Arrows hissed toward blue-lit eyes and sometimes found their mark, sometimes passed through to no effect. Men screamed as skeletal hands closed on their throats, as jaws full of blackened teeth tore at them. When those men fell, they twitched, jerked, began to rise again. "Burn them!" Melisandre cried. Fire! Torches were thrust forward. Oil flasks shattered. Wherever flame touched the dead, they shrank back, hissing, limbs jerking as if the fire itself were an enemy they could not face. Bodies went up in greasy smoke. The stench was choking. Stannis fought like a man carved from iron. His sword rose and fell, each stroke measured, never wasted. He did not seek glory, only efficiency. He cut down wights left and right, kicked them from his path, moved toward where the others watched. "Snow!" Mormont roared. "We need you on the flank." Jon was already moving. Ghost leapt ahead, sinking his teeth into a wight's arm and tearing it away in a spray of frozen flesh. Jon's black sword flashed. Wherever it struck, the dead shrank back as they had from fire, frost forming on its blade. Melisandre saw the thin white glow around it brighten, as if responding to something in the air. The others noticed. One broke from the watching line, gliding over the snow with inhuman grace. It drew its sword long, thin, a crystal of ice. Frost smoked off the blade. It moved toward Jon with deadly calm. "Jon!" Davos shouted. The boy turned. The clash of their blades rang like glass struck by steel. Jon's sword shivered in his grip. The other's blade slid along it, leaving a trail of rime. For a moment they were locked, eyes meeting, ice and stone. Melisandre felt the pull then, the way the cold tried to eat the heat she held inside. She gripped the saddle pommel hard, fighting to remain upright. "Lord of Light," she whispered, "let your fire be in their steel." The ruby burned. Jon's sword flared, not with visible flame, but with that white, moonlight glow sharpened to brilliance. Where it met the other's blade now, The ice hissed and cracked. The other tilted its head, as if surprised. Jon snarled and pushed, muscles straining. The blades slid apart. The boy pivoted, power in his hips, and brought his sword down with all his weight. The other tried to parry. The sword shattered like brittle glass. Jon's blade bit into its neck. The creature screamed. A piercing, inhuman sound that seemed to rip the air. Light exploded from the wound, white and blue. Its flesh cracked, splintered, then burst into a flurry of ice shards that blew away on a sudden wind. For a heartbeat, a shape lingered, taller, darker, like the outline of a man made of midnight. Then that too was gone. The whites nearest them jerked and fell, limbs twitching. Some lay still. Others staggered, as if whatever force moved them had stuttered. All across the field, the other host reacted. Heads turned toward the place where one of their own had died. The Night's King's gaze sharpened. "Good," Melisandre breathed. "Good." Stannis saw it too. He cut his way through a knot of whites, horse lathered, breath steaming. "They can die," he shouted to those near him. "They can die. Take their heads. Burn their corpses." A cheer went up, ragged but real. Men fought harder. Flame leapt higher. The Night's King raised his hand again. The temperature dropped. Breath froze in lungs. Flame guttered as if choked by invisible fingers. Men stumbled, weapons slipping in numb hands. Frost crawled up the very wood of their spear shafts. Cracked leather, turned beards into brittle wire. Melisandre felt her magic waver. It was like standing in a wind so fierce it flattened her. The power she drew from her god faltered, because the very idea of heat was under assault. She clutched at it, dragging it close, forcing herself to remember every fire she had ever known. The warmth of a brazier on Dragonstone, the lick of flame on her skin when she had proven how it did not burn her, the hot weight of summer air in Asshai before she had taken the Red Road. "You will not have them," she hissed at the cold. "You will not have him." The ruby flared again, a stubborn, furious spark. The flames nearest her steadied. Men nearby felt warmth lick at their frozen limbs, enough to let them grip their swords again. Stannis kicked his horse forward, directly toward the Night's King. It was madness. Davos knew it, Mormont knew it, even Melisandre knew it. But it was also the only thing he could have done. Kingship was sometimes nothing more or less than deciding where to stand in the line. He stood before the Night's King. The dead horse's eyes rolled in its skull, blue-lit. The creature astride it regarded Stannis like one might regard an ant that had learned to shout. Its sword, a longer, crueler shard of ice than the others bore, slid from its scabbard, making a sound like a winter stream freezing solid. "Stannis!" Davos yelled, too far away to do anything. Melisandre kicked her horse hard, riding to close the distance. If she could get close enough, if she could touch him, she could pour some of her heat into his steel. She knew it. She felt it. The only question was whether she would reach him in time. Stannis did not wait. He charged. His horse's hooves pounded the snow. The Night's King did not bother to spur his mount. It glided forward, unnatural. The distance between them closed. For a heartbeat, the world narrowed to two lines rushing together. Their swords met. The shock of it ran up Stannis's arm like fire, or rather, like the sudden absence of fire. His steel screamed as frost raced down it, turning it white in an instant. His fingers numbed. For a moment he thought the sword would shatter, would break as the other's blade had under Jon's strike. It did not. A warmth seared through the hilt into his hand. Heat, fierce and red, flowed up his arm. For a heartbeat his sword shimmered, not with white light, but with a dull, angry glow, like iron in a forge. The frost retreated from it. The Night's King's eyes widened a fraction. Melisandre had reached him. Her hand was on his wrist, bare, the skin already reddening with cold. The ruby at her throat was a brand of light. She poured everything she had into that contact. Every prayer, every scrap of faith, every moment of doubt and triumph. Fire roared through her veins. The cold fought back, savage, unrelenting. Felt as if she were being torn in half. Now, she gasped. Strike. Now. Stannis bared his teeth. He drove his sword forward with both hands, putting his whole weight behind it. The Night's King twisted with an inhuman grace, but the heat in the steel made it faster than his frozen reflexes anticipated. The blade slid across his guard, slipped past, and bit into his side just below the ribs. The world cracked. There was no scream this time, no sound a human ear could properly register. There was only a sudden, blinding flare of light, blue and white and a hint of red where the two magics met. The Night's King stiffened. For a heartbeat, Melisandre saw not a monster, but a man. Dark-haired, pale-eyed, features stern. A crown of night above his brow. Then, that image shattered into 1,000 shards. The shockwave knocked them all from their saddles. Melisandre hit the snow hard, the breath driven from her lungs. Her skin burned and froze at once. The ruby at her throat cracked with a sharp, crystalline sound. She clutched at it instinctively. Around them, the army of the dead faltered. Some collapsed as if their strings had been cut. Others spasmed, heads whipping back, limbs jerking. The others let out a sound that might have been a collective gasp. Frost stopped forming on the air. Flame leapt higher again, no longer choked. Jon, shaking snow from his hair, pushed himself up on one elbow. He saw whites dropping all along the line, their blue eyes dimming. Others turned, some looking toward the place where the Night's King had stood and now did not. Their perfect, cold composure was gone. They flared with something like fury or fear. Press them, Mormont roared. Press them now. The melee surged back into motion. Men hacked at whites that no longer seemed quite so unstoppable. Fire took them easier. The whites of their bones showed through cracking skin. Jon staggered to his feet, sword still in hand. Ghost was by his side, muzzle bloody. He saw Stannis lying in the snow. For one gut-sickening heartbeat, Jon thought him dead. The king's eyes were closed, his face pale, his armor rimed with frost. But his chest rose and fell, shallow and harsh. His sword lay beside him, its blade dull and ordinary again. Melisandre knelt over him. Her hair had turned white, not completely, streaks of red still threaded through it, but much of the color was gone, bleached as if by age. Her skin, always pale, looked almost translucent now. The cracked ruby at her throat was dark, a dead gem. She pressed both hands to Stannis' chest. "Breathe," she whispered. He did. His eyelids fluttered, then opened. His eyes were the same hard blue-gray they had always been, but there was something in them now that had not been there before. A depth, as if he had stood on the edge of some great void and looked down. "Did we?" His voice came out as a croak. He swallowed, coughed. "Is it done?" Melisandre looked over her shoulder. The cleared hollow where the Night's King had stood was empty. Only a shallow crater remained, rimed with a thin ring of ice that was already cracking. The others were in disarray. Some fled into the deeper snow, their forms dissolving as they went, turning to shards that blew away on the wind. Others fought on and fell under dragonglass and fire and the white glowing steel of Jon's sword. "For now," she said, "we have cut off the head. The body will stumble. There may be others, other minds, other kings, but this one is gone." Stannis grunted, as if she had told him they had won a minor skirmish and not shifted the fate of the world. He pushed himself up slowly with Davos's help. "Then we hold," he said. "We burn what's left. We send word to every corner of the realm. This is what we fight, not each other. This." Davos, breathing hard, looked around at the field of melting ice and smoldering corpses. "You think they'll listen, Your Grace?" he asked bitterly. "The lords and ladies in their warm keeps? You think they'll heed some madman's tale of ice kings and dead men?" Stannis wiped blood, his and others, from his face. "I don't know," he said, "but we will tell them anyway. And if they do not listen, we will still stand here. We will hold this line until we cannot. That is what kings do. That is what men do." Melisandre watched him, her heart raw. She saw futures branching again, 1,000 lines. In many of them, the dead still came, but slower now, stumbling without their king. In some, men united behind the tale of this battle, sending grain and men north, reforging ancient alliances. In a few, dragons wheeled above the wall, their fire another weapon in the arsenal of the living. In others, old grudges proved harder to kill than ice fiends, and the realm tore at itself even as the cold closed in. But in no vision now did she see the world swallowed whole. There were always patches of light, some in the south warm and stubborn, some in the north fierce and flinty, some on islands, some in mountains, some in the deep mines of the Vale. The night had been driven back, not wholly, not forever, but enough. Stannis Baratheon rose in the snow, a crown of frost on his brow, a dull, ordinary sword in his hand that had for a moment been something more. He looked tired to the bone. He looked as if the weight of all he had done and all he had yet to do pressed on his shoulders like a mountain. He looked like a king. "Come, Jon Snow," he said. "Walk with me." Jon exchanged a glance with Melisandre, then fell into step beside Stannis, Ghost padding at his heels. They walked along the line of their own dead, faces stiff and pale, bodies laid out ready for burning. Men watched them pass with something like awe. "You killed one of those things," Stannis said at length, not looking at Jon. Jon shifted. "I won, with help." "You wield that sword well," Stannis said. "It is not Valyrian steel. It is not dragon glass. And yet it harms them. Why?" Jon shook his head. "I don't know. I thought it was the dragon glass at first. Sam's knife. Maybe something rubbed off. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's you and the Red Woman and your god. Maybe," Stannis said. They walked in silence a few paces more. "I have no sons," Stannis said abruptly. "Only a daughter, Shireen. She is bright, if not beautiful. The realm will not accept a queen who was once a princess alone. Not yet. It still clings to the notion that only men can rule. That will change. But not in my lifetime." Jon blinked, uncertain where this was going. "I offered once to make you a Stark," Stannis said, "to give you Winterfell in exchange for your service. You refused. You clung to your vows. I respected that, even if I found it foolish. I will not make that offer again. I keep expecting you to, if I'm honest," Jon said. "You sound like you will. You sound like you're leading up to it." Stannis snorted. "Do you mean to mock your king, Snow?" "A little," Jon admitted. Stannis's mouth twitched. "What I will offer," he said, "is this. When this war is done, when the dead are pushed back and the wall is secure, I will need men I can trust in the north. Not just one, but many. I will need a Lord Commander of the Night's Watch who understands what we fight. I will need a Warden of the North who owes me no false fealty, but stands with me because he knows the alternative. Whether that is you or some other, I cannot yet say. But you have a part to play. Do not waste it." Jon swallowed. "I never wanted to be a lord," he said. "Or a king. I wanted a place, a name." "You have a name," Stannis said. "More than one, perhaps. Snow, Stark, Targaryen." He glanced sideways, gauging Jon's reaction. Jon's step stumbled. "What?" he said. Stannis raised a brow. "You think kings do not read?" Ned Stark was not the only man in the realm who could count months. Rhaegar Targaryen took Lyanna Stark from Robert's clutches. A child came of that. A boy by all accounts. A boy who vanished. You are the right age. The right look. The right... everything. Jon's head spun. "That's madness. I'm Ned Stark's bastard." He said what he had to, Stannis said. "For the peace of his friend. For your safety. If I am right, you are the blood of dragons and wolves both. You may feel that matters. You may not. It matters not a whit to me. You are what you have made yourself. A man of the watch. A fighter. A leader, whether you like it or not." Melisandre watched them from a distance, the wind tugging at her white-streaked hair. She had known this truth in outline, if not in all its details. The fires had shown her enough. Jon's blood was old blood, mingled blood. It gave him a place in the great pattern that no mere bastard of Winterfell could have occupied. 3 flames, she thought again. 3 heads of the dragon, Stannis and Jon. And the third. Across the narrow sea, in a city of dead kings, a young woman with silver hair stood amidst blackened stone, her hand on the flank of a growing dragon. In the reach, a new Highgarden lord weighed letters on scales as carefully as he weighed grain. In Sunspear, a prince of Dorne smiled a secret smile, reading rumors of ice demons with interest. The world shifted in 1,000 small ways, each responding to the others. Melisandre closed her eyes and saw it all. Her visions were clearer than they had ever been. She saw pitfalls and possibilities, deaths that might yet be averted and sacrifices that could not. She saw her own end, a blaze of white and red on some high, cold place, her body turning to ash and blowing on the wind even as her spirit rode the flames back into the great fire from which it had been sparked. She felt no fear. She had wanted once to be right, to be the one who named the prince that was promised, who guided him and shaped him. Now she simply wanted the night to be held at bay. Whether Stannis or Jon or some girl across the sea bore, the title mattered less than that they fought. She turned away from the 2 men walking among the dead. There was work to be done. Ravens were sent. Letters flew. Some were laughed at and burned. Some were read with furrowed brows and muttered curses. A few were seized upon as an opportunity. Here a lord saw a chance to prove himself. There a city watch captain dreamed of glory on a wall of ice. The world, stubborn and selfish, did not transform overnight because one king had chosen to go north. But it shifted slowly. In King's Landing, Tyrion Lannister read the letter from the wall aloud to the small council. The king requests men and grain for the defense of the realm against this enemy, he concluded, letting the parchment roll shut. I didn't think I'd live to see the day Stannis Baratheon asked for anything as simple as food. He asks as king, one lord sniffed. We are obliged to answer. We are obliged to answer with what we can spare, Tyrion said. Which, considering the way the Tyrells took their toys and went home the moment Stannis put a few of their cousins' heads on spikes, is not much. He should never have hanged Ser Loras, the master of coin muttered. He shouldn't have ridden north, another said. A king's place is in his capital. Tell that to the dead men walking, Tyrion said wearily. Look, we can argue all day about Stannis' choices. The point is this. Something very bad is happening up there. Something worse than anything happening down here, and that's saying something. If we don't send at least token support, we'll look like cowards and fools. If we do, we weaken ourselves if anyone decides to test the throne while the king is away. A pleasant set of choices. The queen, Celis, thin-lipped and not half the player Cersei had been, said sourly. Welcome to rule, your grace, Tyrion said. It never gets easier. In the end, grain went north. Some men too. Second sons, restless nights, a handful of hard-bitten sellswords who'd seen everything else the world had to offer and thought ice demons sounded like a refreshing change. It was not enough. It was, however, something. In the Riverlands, where the scars of old wars still marked the land, a house that had once thrown its lot in with the Freys and Lannisters found itself very short of friends. They read the tales of ice and fire with a kind of horrified fascination and quietly began to build smokehouses instead of swords. In the Reach, the new Lord Tyrell weighed the rumors with cool eyes. If this is true, he said to his council, we risk much by clinging to old grudges. If it is false, we risk little by sending a few thousand bushels of grain north. Let the north owe us a debt of bread. Bread can buy much. Winter will come here too, my lord, an advisor cautioned. We will need those bushels. Then we will plant more, the young Tyrell said. The earth here is generous. If the stories are true, generosity now may be the difference between a cold winter and no more summers at all. So the ships set sail. Each decision, each small act of courage or cowardice, wove itself into the pattern. Melisandre saw it and sometimes nudged, sometimes held back. She did not try to control everything. She knew now that even with clear visions, her judgment could err. She spoke when the fire urged her to. She held her tongue when the wind through the wall's stones whispered of old magic's best left undisturbed. She stood beside Stannis when he held tired, heated debates with Jon about the wildlings. "We cannot fight this war with our enemies at our back," Jon argued. "Let them through. Settle them. They'll fight the others as hard as we do. Harder. Savages," Stannis said. "Murderers. Thieves. Men," Jon said. "Women. Children. If we leave them out there, they die. And every one of their bodies becomes another weapon for the thing we just fought. Do you want that? Do you want to fight them again after they've died?" Stannis glared at him. Melisandre watched the lines of his face. "Your Grace," she said quietly. "He is right." Stannis's head snapped toward her. "You never side with him against me. I side with the living against the dead," she answered. "Every corpse you allow the night to claim is a gift to it. We must deny it that gift. Let them through. Put their strongest warriors on the wall. Use them. They owe us their lives." Stannis stared at them both, Jon with his wolf at his side, Melisandre with her cracked ruby and white-streaked hair. "Very well," he said at last, the words seemingly dragged from him. "We will open the gate, but if they misbehave, if they lay hand on any subject of mine without leave, I will hang them myself." Jon's smile, fleeting as it was, lit his face for the first time in days. So the wildlings came through. So the wall became not a barrier between men and monsters, but a line with men on both sides of it, facing outward. It was messy at first. Fights broke out. Old grievances flared. A spearwife stabbed a Southron soldier in an argument over bread. She hanged. Her sister took up command of their band and drilled them twice as hard. In the quiet moments, when there were any, Melisandre would climb to the top of the wall and stare north. The horizon was a white line, unbroken. The air bit. The fire within her burned low but steady. She did not see the Night's King anymore, not as she had before. Whatever had been unmade in that hollow had not returned. But there were echoes, fragments, stray cold minds in the wilderness, weaker, more diffuse. The dead still moved, but they no longer marched as one. "We have wounded it," she told Stannis one night as they shared a meager supper in the Lord Commander's chambers. The room was bare, the table scarred, the food simple. A king's feast in the north. "Not killed it," he said. "Perhaps not," she conceded. "Perhaps cannot. Perhaps this is a cycle. Long night, long day. Or perhaps this is the first time it has ever been opposed instead of endured. Perhaps that matters." She frowned. "I do not know." He regarded her, chewing slowly. "You admit ignorance more readily than you used to," he said. "I know more now," she said. "Enough to know how little I know." He huffed, a sound that might have been a laugh in a man with more practice. "When we go back south," he said. "If we go back south, the realm will not be the same." "No," she said. "It will not." "Will I still be king?" She looked at him, really looked at the lines on his face, the white in his beard, the fresh scar along his jaw where an other's blade had nearly taken his head. "In most futures," she said slowly. "Yes, in some you die here, in some you die on the road, in some you live long enough to see your grandchildren. In some you fall in battle when some lordling decides his pride is worth more than his life. But in most you die as you have lived, standing, sword in hand." He rolled his eyes. "Comforting." She smiled faintly. "You have more humor now. I have spent too much time with that dwarf and that bastard," he said. "They are bad influences." "You mean good ones," she said. He did not contradict her. Winter deepened. The first snows reached King's Landing earlier than anyone could remember. At Dragonstone, the sea froze in strange, lumpy sheets for the first time in living memory. In Highgarden, frost killed late roses overnight. Men told tales by firelight in every corner of the realm. They spoke of a king who had left his throne to fight the dark, of a red woman whose hair had turned white on the field, of a boy in black whose sword glowed like the moon. They exaggerated, as men always do. They claimed the wall had grown taller, that dragons had been seen over the shivering sea, that old gods and new were walking the earth. In truth, the greatest miracle was quieter. Men who had once hated each other now stood shoulder to shoulder on the wall's parapets, sharing skins of wine and muttered stories, watching for the pale glimmer of an approaching foe that might not come this night, or the next, or the next. "Do you regret it?" Davos asked Melisandre one such night, both of them leaning on the icy merlin, breath steaming. "Regret what?" she said. "Any of it," he said. "Following Stannis, bringing him to the throne, bringing him here, bringing yourself here. That business with your magic. You look older these days." She smirked. "I am older, as are you." "True enough," he said. "But I'm supposed to look like an old smuggler. You used to look like you'd never known a hard day in your life. Now you look tired." "I am tired," she said simply. "Magic is not a bottomless well, Davos Seaworth. Every fire burns something. I have burned pieces of myself to light these nights. One day there will be nothing left to burn. On that day, I will go back to my lord." He made a face. "Can't say as I like the sound of that, you going up like a candle. Even if I've got more reason to thank you now than I ever thought I would." "You don't owe me thanks," she said. "If you thank anyone, thank him." She nodded toward Stannis down the wall, speaking quietly with Jon over a map. "I showed him the path. He walked it." Davos shook his head. "If you'd shown him the wrong path, we'd all be cinders. Or ice." She did not argue. "Regrets," she said after a moment. "Yes, I have them. I regret the times I saw half the truth and mistook it for all of it. I regret the blood that was spilled because I believed too fiercely in my reading of the fire. I regret not listening sooner, to men like you, to doubt." She exhaled. "But I do not regret this. This was what I was made for, in a sense." "You sound certain," he murmured. She smiled wryly. "My visions have never been clearer." He snorted. "Would have been nice if they'd been that clear from the start." "Yes," she said. "It would." He looked at her for a long moment. "Do you ever think about, when this is all done, if it ever is, what then?" "I think I will be dead," she said frankly. "I have seen myself burning on a pyre of my own making, on some high place, my ashes carried on the wind. I think that is how I leave this world. Perhaps I am wrong, but I doubt it." "You say that so calm," Davos said. "It does not frighten me," she said. "Death is not an end, Davos. Not the way the night we fight would make it. My lord's fire burns beyond this world. I have been alive a very long time. Longer than you know. Longer than Stannis. Longer, perhaps, than is good for any soul. To go back into the light will be a kind of rest." He stared. "Gods, just how old are you?" She laughed genuinely. "Old enough to know better. Young enough to keep making mistakes." He shook his head. "You're a strange woman. You're a strange man," she said. "We make a strange world." He could not argue that. Years passed. Not many. Enough. There were more battles, more narrow escapes. More nights on the wall where nothing happened and men went half mad with waiting. There were small victories. A wildling chief who had once raided south but now led his spears against a nest of whites and burned them out. A group of hill clansmen who came north to fight the real enemy and laughed at cold that froze others. There were losses. Mormont killed in an ambush beyond the wall, his bearskin cloak soaked in his own blood. Celis Baratheon dying of a fever in the cold, muttering prayers to both the Seven and the Lord of Light in her delirium. The death of one of Dany's dragons in some distant skirmish over a city that mattered less than any snowflake. Daenerys Targaryen herself came, eventually. She rode up to the wall on a dragon's back, hair whipped wild, eyes wide. She had crossed the sea not to reclaim a throne she had never seen, but to answer the call of a war that dwarfed her own grievances. Years of wandering, of conquest and compromise, had taught her that a crown meant little on a dead world. She and Stannis regarded each other warily. "You have my father's throne," she said, standing in the courtyard, dragon's shadow long behind her. I have the realm's trust, he said, and the scars to prove it. If you want the chair of swords, girl, you can have it when my bones are dust, if any of us live that long. She blinked, taken aback. That's it, she said. No talk of usurper? No demands I bend the knee. I care for men, not furniture, Stannis said. You have dragons. I have a wall. The dead are out there. We can argue about whose father killed whose when the night is gone. She laughed then, sharp with surprise. Very well, she said. For now, we are allies. Not just allies, Melisandre murmured as she watched from the ramparts, Jon at her side. Pieces of one thing. Jon glanced at her. You think she's the third head, then? I do, Melisandre said. She carries fire in flesh. You carry it in blood. He carries it in stubbornness. She nodded toward Stannis. Between you, perhaps, it will be enough. Enough for what? Jon asked. For the turning, she said. In the end, it did not come as a single apocalyptic battle, as she had once imagined. The great clash in the hollow where the Night's King fell was the story men would tell as if it had been the final, decisive victory. But history lies. The real victory was slower, more grinding. Years of holding the line, of burning corpses, of hunting down pockets of whites, of sending dragons to melt nests of ice in forgotten valleys. It was 100 small wars instead of one great one. But it worked. The dead grew fewer. The cold receded bit by bit. One spring a flower bloomed in the shadow of the wall. A small, stubborn thing, white with a golden heart. A boy of the watch saw it first, blinked, then called Jon and Melisandre and whoever else would listen. Is that? Davos squinted down at it. A bloody daisy? It is, Melisandre said. It should not have been remarkable. Flowers bloomed everywhere in the warm lands. But here, within sight of that great wall of ice, it was a miracle. Maybe it just got lost, Davos said gruffly. Silly thing growing up here. Maybe it wanted to see the end of the world and decided against it, Jon said. Melisandre smiled. The long night is not forever, she said. No darkness is. Stannis died 10 years later. Not in some grand battle, not on the wall, not under a dragon's shadow. He died in his bed in Winterfell, of all places, his body worn out by years of fighting, his heart finally surrendering. He had come south again once the wall was secure enough to be held by the brothers and wildlings and Dragon Queen's men. He had rebuilt what he could. Laws codified, greedy lords checked, grain stores replenished, roads repaired. He had ruled as he had always fought, relentlessly, without much joy but with stubborn fairness. He had been a hard king, not loved, but respected. On his last night, he called for Melisandre and Davos and Jon. You were right, he told Melisandre, his voice a rasp. About the wall, about the night, about most things. Not about all, she said. Enough. He snorted, which made him cough. You were wrong about me being some promised prince, he said. That boy there is more likely. He nodded toward Jon. Or the dragon girl, or someone not yet born. I am rarely interested in titles, she said. You were the king we needed then. That was enough. He looked at Davos. You kept me honest. Tried, Davos said, eyes wet. You succeeded more than you know, Stannis said. He reached for Jon's hand. You'll keep them in line? He wheezed. The lot of them. The North. The Watch. The dragons. My daughter. Jon swallowed hard. I'll try, he said. Your grace. Stannis snorted again. Still that, is it? Even now. He breathed shallowly. Very well. Then I die a king. He closed his eyes. He did not open them again. Melisandre felt the moment his soul left his body. It flickered like a spark off a coal, rose, and was gone. She closed her eyes and whispered a prayer in a tongue older than Westeros. In the years that followed, the realm would argue about Stannis Baratheon. Some would call him the Stone King, dour and joyless but unbreakable. Some would remember only the executions, the burned idols, the taxes. Some would tell tales of how he had ridden north when others hid in their warm keeps. All would agree that he had changed the course of history. Melisandre did not live much longer. She knew the day when it came. She felt it in her bones, in the way the fire within her guttered. She had done what she had come to do. The night was held. The Dragon Queen and the Wolf King's bastard son and a little girl with a scarred face who had grown into a woman wiser than any at court, Shireen, would carry on the work of shaping this fragile peace. She climbed the wall one last time. The wind was cold, but no longer cruel. The ice beneath her hands felt less like a barrier and more like a monument. The sky was clear, stars sharp. She could see her breath in the air, but it did not hurt. Jon found her there. "You're going," he said. "Yes," she said. "He calls." Jon swallowed. "I won't pretend I understand your God," he said, "or why he chose any of us. But I'm glad you were here, even if I didn't always like it." She smiled. "I did not come for your liking." "I know," he said. "That's why I trust it." He held out something. Her ruby. The crack in it had widened over the years, spreading like a spiderweb. It no longer flared as it once had, but at his touch it glowed faintly. "You keep it," he said, "for the journey." She closed his fingers back around it. "No," she said. You are the one with more journeys yet." He frowned. "What do I need with a cracked rock?" "You will know," she said, "when it is time, or you will not. Either way, it is not mine any longer." She stepped back. The edge of the wall loomed behind her. Below, the drop was dizzying. Once, the thought of throwing herself into that abyss might have frightened her. Now it felt like stepping into another kind of fire. "Tell Shireen," she began. "I will," Jon said. "Tell Davos I was wrong about some things," she said. "And right about enough. He likes to keep count." Jon smiled. "And you?" she said, looking at him, at the lines already forming at the corners of his wolf-gray eyes. "Remember that you are not only what your blood makes you. You are what you choose." He nodded, his throat tight. "Good," she said softly. Then she stepped backward. The wind caught her cloak as she fell. For a heartbeat, she was weightless, hair and cloth streaming around her. The world rushed past. Ice, stone, then nothing but air. She did not scream. Halfway down, she burst into flame. It was not the harsh, greedy fire of a torch or stake. It was a clean, white blaze shot through with red, consumed her without smoke. Unburnt cloth and hair and flesh all turned to light. For a heartbeat, she was a falling star. Then there was nothing left but ash drifting on the wind, scattering across the snow. On the walkway above, Jon stood very still. The ruby in his hand grew warm. He closed his fingers around it. Far to the south, in a rebuilt King's Landing where children played in streets that had once run with blood, a little girl looked up at the sky and pointed. "Look, Mother," she cried. "A shooting star." Her mother smiled and made a wish. In the halls of the dead, if such a place existed, a woman with red hair walked into a great fire and felt herself welcomed home. The night was not gone. It would never be gone, but it had been held. And in the flickering torchlight of a world that had almost ended, men and women told stories. They told of a king who had listened to a witch and gone where no one expected him to go. They told of a boy who had taken up a sword and found that it burned with a cold light. They told of a woman whose visions had been clear at last, and who had used them not to glorify herself but to keep the dark at bay. They told of fire and ice and stubborn, mortal hearts. They told of how the night had come, and how for a time, in one small corner of an indifferent universe, it had not won.